Hey there, everyone. Welcome back to Visage, or Visage, or however you want to say it. Previously, we completed the Neighbors comic book and pieced together the remainder of the story by comparing to what we have already learned previously. The only thing we have left to do is complete the endings, so let's get back to it. Alright, so the first thing we want to do is actually head to the basement. Which you know, the basement is not known for inspiring confidence in horror stories. And there are two reasons we're going down here. The first is going to the storage room to get the mallet. And this first ending can actually be completed after you finish Dolores' chapter, because all you need is the mallet. From there, we're going to head over here to this little area with the drywall that clearly looks suspicious. Fresh paint on the wall. Try and break it open. And I think we need the mallet for this. I'm pretty sure we need it. Or not. It looks like he actually just punched it. I may have been wrong. I'm sorry. Okay, chill down there, Kyle. Sorry, I couldn't help myself. Alright, maybe I didn't need them out. Maybe you could do this right from the get-go. Don't need you anymore. So before doing this, you might want to make a backup save. You don't really need to, but you want a place to load back in to do the other ending. You don't have to even do it now, really. You can go through a good portion of this and not have to worry about it. Now, again, this does not inspire confidence, but let's go in. Just gotta have you asking, how big is this house? Now this should look familiar. This is where our story started. Those were the chairs where Dwayne's family was bound to, and this is the seat he was in when he was loading the gun to kill them. So, you can put the gun back down and leave right now, or we can progress towards the first of the two endings. And yes, we have to do what you think we have to do. There are 6 rounds in the gun. We have to use all of them. So aim the gun. Trigger warning, no pun intended. And fire. Take a quick peek at the floor in front of the door as we walk out of this room. Okay, so there was a tick mark on the floor. It's the number of times you've pulled the trigger. If you notice that little off screen, that was a hint as to where you can do things in the game, like finding tapes or chapter items, that sort of thing. So it's telling you that, if you have any unfinished business in the house, this may be where it is. From there, we essentially just want to head back to the same room. And this time, something's going to have changed. There's a round missing from when we fired. So, when you pull the trigger the first time, you should immediately get a trophy called Easy Way Out. That's for the first time you use the revolver. To get the ending, we need to empty the revolver, and we need to use it one last time. 7 VHS tapes, 7, I don't know what you would call them, 7, you could say 7 sins. It's not the kind of formal sins, but 7 kind of acts we've kind of committed in a way. So 7 tapes, 7 deaths. That's what we're going for here. So again, aim the gun. And fire. There's now 2 tick marks for the 2 shots. Aim the gun. And fire. Three tick marks. Aim the gun. And fire. Four tick marks. Aim the gun. Fight. Five marks. Last round, aim the gun. Six marks, which means the gun has been emptied. Okay, so the cylinder is officially empty, and I'm starting to feel like this is subliminal messaging on my part, so please don't take it that way. I'm just following through with the game. But we want to do the same thing again. Aim the gun. Lucky sevens. Alright, that was the void ending. There are 2 points of interest that I find worth discussion. First, if you have not completed the chapters of VHS tapes, pulling the trigger will lead to hints each time showing where you go to complete any unfinished business and driving towards the alternative ending, essentially. So that's why it was pulling me into the prison tape, and I don't know why, because I already had the tape. But it'll actually show you where all the drawings are to start the chapters, and it will show you the various locations of the tapes if you haven't picked them up. So it's kind of useful in that sense. Second, by emptying the revolver, Dwayne ends up at the bottom of a well, which is where we are, in a never-ending abyss that he likely cannot escape from. Recently, I have started to consider that this may be the inevitable and terminal ending to Dwayne's story. I personally think that he is condemned to end up in this well, alone and wandering for eternity, for reasons that I will explain after we complete the other ending. Alright, so to get the alternative ending, what we want to do is essentially head back upstairs. And we're going to go right to the progress room, where the mirror mask is. So this ending is a restricted ending, of course, because you need to have all the progress items to do this. If you do not complete the chapters, you cannot get the final VHS tape to piece together the mask. And so to get the ending, all we really have to do is pick up the mask, and that's mostly all there is to it. We just got to follow kind of linear path after that. So let's do it. I also like to point out that the mirror mask, to me, has a similar appearance to that of the one worn by the friend in Lucy's story. Just that this one's much cleaner, whereas the friend's mask was, I don't know really how to describe it, but it seemed very tattered. Dirty, I think is the word I'm looking for. Dirty and possibly a little bit destroyed. And of course, the room looks completely different now. So, where do you think we're going to go? House looks different. Looks like it probably did when we were alive. Still can't leave. Upstairs is blocked. This is the only door that's open. Right back to the same room. Alright, that was the family reunion ending. Almost everyone, myself included, at first seemed to jump to the conclusion that the family reunion is somehow the good ending out of the two. I mean, sure, Dwayne is indeed reunited with his family. However, was that the reunion he wanted? We can see the family in the distant fog for a short period, and we are immediately pulled back from them and put into this credit roll. Thank you to Darkness for pointing out that good storytelling does not present a happy ending by doing that to you. I agree with Darkness's conclusion that Dwayne was reunited with his family, but only for a short while for them to reject him. I mean, think about it. Why would Dwayne ever be forgiven for the things that he has done, especially by his own family after he murdered them? Claire was shot right in front of their son and daughter. So their son, John Michael, and their daughter, Sarah, had to watch their father kill their mother, knowing that they were next. Furthermore, Sarah then had to watch her father kill her brother. What kind of person would forgive that, let alone the family that had to experience it? Assuming that Dwayne was rejected by his family for the things that he had done, what happens next? I suppose that could just be the end of the game and that there is no more to it. However, I have an alternative idea. I don't know if it's what the game developers were going for, and the game doesn't even present it this way, but my hypothesis is that Dwayne finds himself back in the purgatory of the house to repeat the loop all over again. Recall that Rose said she hadn't seen Dwayne out of the house in about 3 weeks, and that there were over 40 broken keys at the front door. At the start of the story and in the previous episode, I asked who has 40 plus keys to their own house, with the answer that no one does, and that takes us to the endings. I think that Dwayne has been repeating this cycle for nearly 3 weeks, and gets rejected by his family every time, starting the cycle over with a fresh key every time. The cycle could alternatively start over every time that he is caught by one of the story's many antagonists, but I like my hypothesis better. It's dark, right? Therefore, you might consider if Dwayne can stop the cycle. As noted previously, I think he is condemned to end up in that bottom of that well, wandering for eternity in the void as another wretched soul. I think the only outcome for Dwayne is to face the reality of what he's done until he cannot bear it any longer, and then take the quote-unquote easy way out by killing and putting himself in that well for eternity. That is my interpretation of the endings. Anyway, if you are following along for the trophy walkthrough, then you should have easy way out for using the revolver the first time, along with void and family reunion trophies for completing the associated endings. And they should pop immediately as soon as you pull the final trigger for void and go to the door for the reunion. Additionally, you should finally have the Visage Master, or Visage Master, or however you want to say it, Master trophy, for completing all trophies. I had to get that in one last time. And that is a good place to end this series. There isn't much to recap since we have already discussed the story extensively. If you want to, hear that again, go back to the previous episode, or previous few episodes, because I've talked about it quite a bit. Therefore, I wanted to thank anyone that took the time to listen to the walkthrough discussions, because I put a lot of time and effort into dissecting and trying to understand the story. I tried to communicate and share as much factual information as I could, along with my thoughts and hypotheses on what was really going on. But I do keep in mind that some of my thoughts were my thoughts and others' thoughts, and may not be the interpretation that the developers were going for. Additionally, it has been great to return to this amazing game. I absolutely love story-driven games and horror games that can continually scare me and keep me on edge. This stands as one of the scariest horror games for me, along with Resident Evil 7 and Madison as very close competitors. And with that being said, let's close things out for the night. Thank you all for joining, and I will see you all later.